What's going on YouTube? It's Jordan with Council Gatewatch today. I'm bringing you another deck tech today for some EDH. I do understand spoiler season is coming to a close and there's pre-release this weekend. I'm going to be putting some stuff out for pre-release. I am going to one of the singles pre-release, so I will be doing sealed. But I do want to just bring this to you. I've been working on this for a little while. It's pretty hilarious. So we're just going to jump right in. Now, the general for this deck, it is a combo deck. The general for this deck is Merieke re Berit. Now, Merieke is a white, a blue, a black for a legendary creature human. She's a 1/1. And she reads, Merieke doesn't untap during your untap step. Gain control of target creature as long as you control Merieke. When she leaves play or becomes untapped, destroy that creature. It can't be regenerated. So she's kind of like Rabina Soulsinger. I know she's a little bit more popular, however, I definitely prefer Merieke. She is in those Esper colors, so we do have quite a bit of control available, which is exactly what we're trying to do. Now, the end game for this deck, it's looking to go towards a very, very late game, like a lot of games of EDH do. The end game, we are playing something called Near Death Experience. It is an enchantment. It's 2 and 3 white. And it reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly 1 life, you win the game. So we do have a couple options on how to actually win with this. And then if we have enough mana for either a Necropotence, which if you're not familiar with Necropotence, Necropotence is banned in almost every format it was originally in because it's so powerful. It's another enchantment for black, black, black. It says skip your draw step, but whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard. But the important part is you can pay a life, exile the top card of your library face down, put that card into your hand at the beginning of your end step. Now this 1 life, you can pay an infinite amount of times. So if you have 28 life, you can flash them both in at the end of your opponent's turn, right before your turn, if you have the mana for it, which again, it is EDH, so a lot of times we're going to have that kind of mana available. So we can flash them both in if we have that orrery out. And you can pay all the way down to 1 life, and then at the beginning of your turn, you win. It's that simple. So you can also use something called Lim-Dul's Vault. It is a blue and a black for an instant. It does read, look at the top 5 cards of your library. As many times as you choose, you can pay 1 life. That's the important part. But when you pay a life, put those cards on the bottom of your library in any order, then look at the top 5 of your library, and then shuffle your library and put the last cards you look this way on top of it in any order. So again, you can pay down to 1 life. We have several effects like this in the deck. Go ahead and play around with it if you do want to make this deck. You do have a lot of options in these colors. So I do just want to touch on the creature base real quick. Those creatures, most of them untap Merieke because you are looking to get to the late game. So if you're untapping Merieke, tapping, untapping, tapping, untapping, you're stealing either those big bombs like your Ulamogs and all that stuff, or we're just using her as a constant removal spell. We do have things like Mother of Runes as well. Mother of Runes is a 1 white for a 1/1. You can tap her. Target creature you control gains protection from a color of your choice until end of turn. We're not running too many counterspells in this deck. Since we're not running too many counterspells, we do need some protection for her. You can mess around with artifacts or whatever you want to give her hexproof or shroud. We generally don't want shroud so that we can use other things to untap her. Now, what are we using to untap her? One of my favorites is actually called Norit. He is 3 and a black for a 1/1. You can tap him to untap target blue creature. Merieke is blue, so you just got a removal spell on a stick. Or you can tap it to force a non-wall creature to attack. If a creature cannot attack, destroy it at the end of turn. Use this ability only during creature's controller's turn before the attack. And you can't target creatures brought under their opponent's control this turn. So they can't have their summoning sickness active or anything like that. We do have a couple other options to untap her. One of them is Puppeteer. It's 2 and a blue for a 1/2. Very simple. Just pay a blue, tap, You may tap or untap target creature. Now a lot of these, just like this, Puppeteer, a lot of these have the option of tapping an opponent's creature if they somehow get rid of Merieke. Normally we will be untapping Merieke, however, sometimes it does happen. So you can use a lot of these to tap other things so they can't swing at you. Again, you got those big bombs like an Ulamog or something, you just use this, and you're good for the next turn before you can get Merieke out. And she's only a 3 cost, so she's relatively cheap. We do have a couple other things like that, like Stony Brook Angler, which is 1 and a blue. For a Merfolk Wizard, a 1/2, you can pay 1 and a blue, tap it, you may tap or untap target creature. So it is very similar to the Puppeteer. Or Tidewater Minion, which is 3 blue for a 4/4 with Defender. You can pay 4, it loses Defender until end of turn, or tap it to untap target permanent. He also goes infinite with Illusionist Bracers and Merieke. That, and there is one other creature in the deck that does that as well. That creature is a Pheto Alchemist. That's 1 and a blue. You can tap it, untap target artifact or creature. He's a 1/2. He also has Morph for a blue. However, we're not ever going to morph him usually, unless we really need a 2/2 for some reason, but he is a 1/2, so you might as well just pay the 2 for it and have that untap ability. Also, that artifact can be relevant as well if someone has a Winter Orb or something like that. It's very useful in those specific situations as well. So, we do have other creatures in the deck that are there for draw, specifically to draw us cards. One of them is called Baleful Strix. It's a blue and a black for an artifact creature bird. He's a 1/1 with flying and death touch. But whenever Baleful Strix enters the battlefield, you get to draw a card. It's very simple. You can also flicker it if you want. We are running a copy of Deadeye Navigator because you can flicker Merieke and she will destroy the creature immediately. So at the end of your opponent's turn, you can flicker her, destroy the creature, and be able to tap her again to steal another creature. If you're not familiar with Deadeye Navigator, welcome to Commander. He's 4 blue for a 5/5 with Soul Bond. Soul Bond, you can pair it with another creature as it or Deadeye Navigator enters the field. But he reads, as long as Deadeye Navigator is paired with another creature, each of those creatures has pay 1 and a blue, exile the creature, and return it to the battlefield under your control. Absolutely incredible, super broken card. If you get around a bunch of people that have been playing EDH for a long time, they know to remove Deadeye Navigator immediately. This card is insane. If you've been playing EDH for even a little bit, I'm sure you've seen it in action. A lot of people want to see it banned. I don't think it's that powerful. I'm not particularly keen on banning things. I feel like there's more answers to cards than have to ban something in most cases. So some other things that we are running for draw. We are running a Harvester of Souls. It's 4 black for a demon, 5/5 with Death Touch. But he reads, whenever another non-token creature dies, you may draw a card. So again, Merieke, if you have 2 untapped creatures, you are destroying 2 creatures a turn with Merieke. So you're just destroyed 2 of your opponent's creatures and gained 2 cards on top of it. So we do have several options for those untaps to fuel this Harvester of Souls. So some other draw things that we are running is Jace's Archivist. It's 1 blue for a 2/2. You can pay a blue, tap it, each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. Now I do understand we are giving our opponents cards too, however, we are just looking for those untapped spells or our endgame combo pieces. Those are the only 2 things we're really looking for with this. Also, you may be asking what happens if Near-Death Experience leaves the field for some reason. Well, we do have Monk Idealist, which is a 2 and a white for a 2/2. When Monk Idealist comes into play, return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Now this includes Near-Death Experience. Also, it does include Necropotence or several other enchantments that we are playing. I did want to touch on another combo that I did put in here. It's called Eye of the Storm. It's 5 blue for an enchantment that reads, whenever a player plays an instant or sorcery card, remove it from the game. Then that player copies each instant or sorcery card removed from the game with Eye of the Storm. For each copy, the player may play the copy without paying its mana cost. This is absolutely insane because we are playing Tendrils of Agony, which is 2 black black for a sorcery that says target player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. But it has Storm. So if there's 7, 8, 9 cards on Eye of the Storm, you Tendrils of Agony, and you practically win the game. Now, this card is absolutely insane. I love it. The other option we have with Eye of the Storm is Mind's Desire. It's 4 blue blue for a sorcery. It says shuffle your library, then remove the top card of your library from the game. Until end of turn, you may play it as though it were in your hand without paying its mana cost, and it also has Storm. So again, if you have 8, 9, 10 cards on there, you're exiling 8, 9, 10 cards, because you cast everything else first, and then you cast Mind's Desire. However, you do have to be careful with this combo, because this then gives your opponents access to both of the combos. So a lot of the times you may just want to wait until you can remove Eye of the Storm. So you can stack it 10 times, everyone's all happy, and then you play one of these Storm cards and get rid of it immediately, just because your opponents can really use it against you. Now, for instance, we're not really playing much. We are playing a copy of Mystical Tutor, which is a blue for an instant. Search your library for an instant, interrupt mana source or a sorcery card, and reveal that card to all players. Shuffle your library and put it back on top. We are also playing a copy of Perplex, which is 1, a blue and a black, with Transmute for 1, a blue and a black. But it also says counter target spell unless its controller discards his or her hand. So we do have a couple counter spells just because. Also some removal, you know, a Swords of Plowshares, a Swan Song, you know, what we normally see. One of my favorite instances that we are playing, though, I had found is called Spinal Embrace. It's 3 blue, blue, black for an instant. It says play Spinal Embrace only during combat. Untap target creature you don't control, on theme, and gain control of it, also on theme. It gains haste until end of turn. At end of turn, sacrifice it. If you do, gain life equal to its toughness. Again, those big bombs, those Ulamogs, anything huge like that, or anything that's really you're staring down that you can't do anything about, if you pull this, you can even tutor it with your Mystical Tutor if you need to, and take control of it during your turn and swing with it, or take control of it as a blocker against that same player, and then you sacrifice it and gain all that life. So that's very, very nice. So with the mana base, I did go a little extensive on the mana base, also with the mana rocks. This is kind of the first mana base that I didn't really go cheap on. You can view it. I'll put the link in the description to my tapped out page on this deck, so you can go ahead and take a more specific look at it if you want. I am playing like a Reflecting Pool and a couple other things like that that are a little more expensive. Just remember to include your Scry lands and your your slow lands, whatever you want to play in here. We are in 3 colors, so you might want to look at those a little bit more. So I did want to go ahead and touch on a couple other things here. One of my favorite cards in this deck is Illusionist Bracers. Now, Illusionist Bracers, if you're not familiar with it, it is a 2 cost for an equipment with an equip cost of 3. And it reads, whenever an ability of equipped creature is activated, if it isn't a mana ability, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. Here's why this is crazy. You remember when I mentioned earlier that a Phaedo Alchemist? Yeah. So you put this on a Phaedo Alchemist, and you tap Merieke, take control of something, and then you tap the Alchemist, but you get 2 untaps. So you target itself and you target Merieke. So you have infinite creature removal. This also works with several other cards here. Tidewater Minion being one of them. Same deal. You tap Merieke, take control of something. Tap Tidewater Minion, get 2 abilities to untap target permanent, untap itself, and Merieke. So we do have several options with this. Also, it's not too bad on Merieke herself. You just throw it on her and you get 2 of your opponent's creatures instead of 1. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm also running a Sensei's Divining Top, just because it makes every deck it's in better. Now, we're not running the Greaves. We are running Swiftfoot Boots, however, because we don't want Shroud because we have to untap her. So Swiftfoot Boots is a 2-cost equipment that reads Equipped Creature has Hexproof and Haste. Equip cost of 1. So this is good to drop on turn 2, Merieke on turn 3. Hopefully we've ramped once to equip it right away, and we're already got our value train going there. A couple other cards that we are running here is Blatant Thievery. We are running a Blatant Thievery that's 4 blue, blue, blue for a sorcery. For each opponent, gain control of target permanent that player controls. This is lands, this is planeswalkers, this is enchantments, this is creatures. Just gain control of 1 for each player. So if you got 4 other people at the table, huge value on this. Even though it is a 7 cost, it's definitely worth running in here. Thanks so much for taking a look at this video. If you have any questions about the deck, you can either view the deck at my tapped out page down below in the description, or you can go ahead and message me or comment me and I can go ahead and answer any questions. Also, feel free to do with your deck what you want. This is how I want to play this. You might want to play it a different way. Please do, and if you do that, please share it with me in the comments. So, I hope to see you guys next time. I'm all finished for this one. If you guys want to see anything specific, let me know. I will have some of the new format coming out for Hour of Devastation here soon. Not standard specifically, but probably more the limited format. I will be experiencing that this Saturday, hopefully with the rest of you guys. So thank you so much for watching. You guys have a wonderful day.